Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. I've got a game for you today on Wonder. It is a bit of a late cast. I know I should have had one out by now, but I had a bit of a sore throat yesterday and it is still messing with me today. So if I'm cutting out the microphone, it is for the sake of your eardrums, I do assure you, and hopefully I can make it through this cast. This is about a 30-minute game on Wonder, and it's a 3 versus 3 on the 5 versus 5 map, which means there's going to be ample opportunity for these guys to spread out, claim a buttload of mass extractors, and do some really incredible things with the huge amount of mass that they are going to accumulate. Let's introduce the teams first off, and then we will dive directly into the action. On the south side, we've got Luker, or right, depending on your directional orientation. He is taking Aeon. We've got Shroomy going for Cybern, and then we have Siwona Daphnuin. Yeah, that's Apophis. We're going to go with Apophis. Cybern in the air slot, going second air. Swap over to this other side. We have Hades Doorman himself, risen from the bowels of hell to play in the air slot of this game. He is taking Aeon. Then we have Stephen Hawking taking UEF on the right side. Probably the guy who got a hold of the black hole to go suck up Hades Doorman to come play this game. And then Panic Button, which we should all be pressing right now in fear of me making any more jokes about these players' names. He is going Cybern on the left. So it looks like we've got opposite strategies going on here. We have some early aggression from the north side. I Spy Scouts. And let's see, what are you making next? See if we can spy in the factory. And Mantis. So that means we've got combat units coming out very, very early for this side. We've got pretty much engineers on this side. We do have a single Aurora, that's an engineer in production. And we've got all engineers on this side. So this is expansion in hopes that you can get things online before the units get here, versus let's pick off all of the undefended expansioneers. Hopefully this Aurora will be able to get within reach of the Mech Marines. Mech Marines actually do exceptionally well versus Auroras because they have half the health that other tanks do, and that's the main problem with Mech Marines. It's not necessarily their damage, because their damage output scales pretty well versus tanks, is that they have such puny amounts of health that Aurora taking a few hits to the face and conquering the Mech Marine rather easily because it was not micro. That engineer, I'm not sure if you noticed, it was queued to go get that mass extractor, but I think that Luker did see the Mech Marine go around the outside edge. That was reprioritized towards a little bit of manual reclaim and then an attack move order, and that Aurora is going to come and pick off that Aurora. The radar here has definitely been advantageous, letting Luker know exactly where those raiding units are so that he can get rid of them. Mantis are coming southward, but this factory is going to finish long before they get here, so that is a good thing for Shroomy. He will be able to keep his established build power on this side. It's not a long ways to expand, but hey, anytime you get set back, it is not good for your overall game going forward. Aurora is encountering a few strikers here. They do have a handy-dandy scout with them, and that scout is no more, so they will probably end up losing to the strikers. But the ACU is moving forward. It looks like Luker's taking an absurdly forward position on this. He is already at the halfway point of the map, and he has got a move order queued all the way up into the right side expansion of Stephen Hawking. He is planning to wrest that from his control, and that is going to be a really interesting move. As long as he doesn't die to an air snipe, that's going to open up some crazy opportunities up there. Mantis moving through Shroomy's base, running away from oncoming units. That's exactly the reaction that you should have to any resistance that you encounter with raiding units. If you've only got a couple of units on that side of the map, you want to get away from any and all confrontations and just kind of get back where you can do the most damage with the least amount of resistance. Luker moving into the base now. He is going to take over all those mass extractors. Got a nice little clump of Auroras with him and a scout. It's going to give him a little bit of radar. And Stephen Hawking, a little bit more exposed than I would like. He is way far away from his support units, and he's moving into a group of units that can kite his ACU. That is never a good situation to be in. It's not exactly ideal, to be sure. I'm trying to think. I have died several times, not recently, but several times, to the fact that Auroras can kite your ACU, and they are just annoying sons of guns. Best to lay down a T1 point defense and obliterate their faces. There's a Mantis moving into the back. It is very, very low on health, but skittering away nonetheless, trying to do a little bit of good in the rear end. And, yeah, not going to succeed very well. Shermie is going to donate a combat unit to his air player, be a kind and friendly compatriot, and get rid of that threat once and for all. Stephen Hawking moving forward just a little bit, deciding that's a bad idea, and he is running away. Luker going to throw down a T1 point defense just to kind of help secure this position. He does have a few Auroras up on the north side, but those are not enough to take on this group of units. I think he knows that, and he's waiting. Nope, he is going to move forward a little. It's going to get him within firing range of the T1 mass extractor there, reduce the economy of his opponent just a little bit. A T1 bomber coming in, perfect reaction from Stephen Hawking. The Auroras, because of their low health, die in one hit to all T1 bombers, and that is a handy-dandy method of dealing with them, unless, of course, you don't have air control, which is pretty much the exact description of what's going on here. I think that Hades will have enough interceptors to challenge. He already does, actually. He is simply not exercising control over that airspace. T1 bomber coming out from Apophis that is going to head over to join his companion on this side. They're just kind of harassing the Mantis over here. Hey, any little bit of damage helps, after all. Soften up those units for the oncoming tide of countermeasures. We've got pillars engaging now, so that's our first player move to T2. Stephen Hawking. You know, guys, sometimes I don't even know what is coming out of my own mouth, especially on days like today where I'm a little fogged out. If I'm using strange vocabulary words or making stretches in my comparisons, please forgive me. Sometimes I'm just kind of floating around on mental autopilot. There is a Swift Wind. Nice move to T2 air on that one. Hades Doorman is assisting that to get out a few of those superior units. That's going to put Apophis on his back foot just a little bit, because the Swift Winds will always be able to outmaneuver interceptors and win pretty handily mass for mass. Granted, if you don't micro them well, they will still die. But for a person who is well in control of his air units, Swift Winds should win handily over an equal amount of mass in interceptors. T1 bombers still harassing those Auroras. There is a finished T1 point defense online now. That one did not quite get done. Stephen Hawking a little bit out of place still with his ACU. You can see the pink units are now pretty much surrounding him. There are some moving up from Panic Button, which is very, very nice of him to do. He is going to try to help re-secure this area, because every minute that Luker holds on to this, that is a severe economic disadvantage for the left-hand team. Not only does this team not have those mass extractors for income, but it's adding to the income of Luker. So it's not exactly like they're just missing, you know, a dozen or so mass income. It's a 24 mass difference because it swaps. There is a T2 Corsair. Stephen Hawking under fire now from fighter bombers, but the air has switched hands. As we mentioned just a minute ago with the Swift Winds coming on the field, that is almost the entirety of Apophis' air forces. And he is now going to have to play defensively, try to keep his players from getting sniped. With Aeon, you know, you always have the chance of a Mercy coming in. Stephen Hawking moving in with his pillars. Pillars are going to be able to much more easily deal with Auroras. They're significantly faster. 3 speed versus 2.4 if memory serves, or 2.3, something like that. And he is going to move into range of Luker's commander. Now, you don't want to have clumps of T2 tanks in reach of the commander because of that overcharge. Definitely don't want to be losing a lot of units like that one right there. But he is going to threaten that commander enough to force it back just a little bit. On the south side, looks like we've got full map counterclockwise rotation here. Clockwise, rather. Counterclockwise would be this way. Come on, Brink, turn on. Get your brain in the game. He is going to advance just a little bit, leave some wrecks on the field, and then have to withdraw as the strength of White's units comes back towards the south. He did donate all that up here, which is what allowed that little push. But now the full force of Panic Button's army is back focused on the south end of the map. This is kind of it's a stronger difference on the north side than on the south. And that is a... Whoa! Stephen Hawking down to 2,400 health. While we're down there focusing on other things, T2 gunships coming in to try and save that ACU. 1,900 with a veterancy. If you can pick up another vet, needs 5 kills to do so, but that T2 mobile shield is really screwing with his potential for killing more things. 1,300 health, slowly being pestered downwards by that group of Auroras moving in. 1,000. If that stupid shield would go down, he would be fine. Getting out of it with 800 health. The Aurora is still pursuing, but now there's another pillar in between the commander and those very, very weak units. T2 gunships still picking off the stragglers there, and that's going to be a save for the air player. Stephen Hawking just barely getting out by the hair on his chinny chin chin. Over on the south side, still units collecting and colliding between white and red. Shroomy and Panic Button both trying to gain the upper hand, but really things are looking about equal. We do have a T2 shift for Shroomy. Is that answered? Yes, it is. I see the first rhinos moving up towards the north side, actually. Kind of odd placement for those. Probably a factory that he forgot to reorder. Yes, T2 engineers is going to start construction with those, and we're probably going to see that move order replaced with one more towards the front line. What have we got going on down here with the T2 factory? That's T2 engineers as well, getting some TMD online in order to protect that base a little bit better. Something to keep in mind on Wonder, you are inevitably going to run into TAC missiles. It's something that just happens. And especially at this stage in the game where you're trying to guess whether your opponent is going to be able to get defenses up, it's definitely something that you need to keep in mind. Nice T1 point defense response from Apophenis. He has engineers down here. There aren't any combat units down, at least there weren't. And that point defense, that handful of engineers right there, is single-handedly going to deny that run-by that would have ended up in the rear portion of the base. All of those land factories that Apophenis built just a little while ago to pump out all of these engineers that he's using to reclaim huge swaths of the map, he's now gone over to combat unit production, and that's going to let him assist the south player. Shroomy not doing too well versus Panic Button. He now has units threatening his build power. That's not the situation that you want to be in. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 T1 land factories and a T2. Looks like Panic Button has around 14. So extra build power with about the same mass income, but he is reclaiming 11,000 versus 2,000 reclaim, which would explain the differences in the amount of units that we're seeing on the field. He does probably want to kill off those engineers, though, to prevent any further reclaim. Also, the radar. Definitely a good target, that radar. Good deal. Knocking that out. All right. Resource allocation has been gotten. That is probably a T2 coming on the ACU. We've got a T3 air factory upgrade going down for Apophenis on the north side. It looks like T2 is the name of the game still, and that is probably the resource allocation upgrade. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That means we'll see T3 from him very, very soon as these air players begin to go at it in the later stages of the game. Well, I say that, it's 12 minutes, but hey, that's time for T3 air on a map like this. Gunships moving around the right-hand side of the map. There are interceptors in place to mess with those. Should be enough to kill them off. The group of interceptors and swift winds for Hades are going to retreat ever so slightly, opening up an opportunity for those gunships to get knocked out. Of course, a couple of anti-air defenses do help those going down in that corner very, very rapidly. That's an added benefit of having engineers in every corner of the map in large numbers. You're able to build support structures. Typically, the disadvantage to stationary defenses is that you cannot move them to another area or move them where you need them to be. But if you have a bunch of engineers in that spot, hey, you can build them right there where they're necessary and then reclaim them afterwards. Panic Button within reach of the home base now. He is wiping out the expansion, and he's got a Cerberus turret right on the outskirts of the spawn location. It looks like Shroomy is about to go under. This is not good for the South team at all. That means that Apophenis is going to have to divert a pretty substantial amount of resources to defending this side. You can see he has got about 10 factories now producing combat units to go over to the left. He's going to have to do something to save this player from folding, not just for his teammates' sake, but also for the sake of his base, because you do not want the air player getting raided. Because if you lose air control completely in the later stages of the game, everyone dies to strat bombers. That is not what you want. T2 power generator going down on the front. Shroomy not really thinking that location through too well, I think. Could have built it on the back of the base where it was not within immediate reach of the units. He's now under fire with his commander. He's got 900 power income, which should be enough to overcharge, but he does, yes he does. He does have an energy storage. You just start laying in overcharges on some of those T2 units. On the north side, excellent progress by Luker. He is also, once again, wiping out the expansion on this side. Sorry, folks. Could not speak another word. I like the T2 shield placement. A lot of people underestimate the value of Aeon mobile shields. They're very cheap. They're very cheap to run. You only need 75 power for that extra, about 4,000 health, 3,800. But the bigger advantage to them is that when you're going in a confrontation against an ACU, one shield cancels out one overcharge. If you can get the mobile shields up near the commander where you can block a large amount of fire, they do exceptionally well for saving the mass in your T2 tanks. Yes, more T2 units has more firepower versus other units, but particularly in the case of commanders, it does a lot to save your forces. Granted, it does have a way higher HP ratio, and especially over the top of weak units like Auroras, it does exceptionally well. But, you know, against that commander, it's just the icing on the cake when he starts wasting overcharges and can't kill your units. It looks like Apophenius' build power is getting plowed under on the south side here. The T1 point defense are doing work, but unfortunately there are a handful of Medusas here that are keeping those T1s stunned just long enough to reduce that damage output. They're going to move up and start wailing on this PD as well. Rhinos, thankfully, just high enough to have a little bit better effect than the Mantis do on those point defense. Even so, the walls do a pretty dang good job of protecting those PD. On the north side, T2 still moving around the outside edge, slowly but surely grinding up Yellow's income, and the inevitable tide, the unstoppable onslaught of Reclaim. I'm curious, what does Apophenius have here? I'm going to go watch all of these interceptors dying on the ground. As we look, that is 25,000 Reclaim versus 7 for the other player, Air player. We've got 17 for Panic Button. It looks like he's the only one to come close. Luker with 15 and 2 and 4 for the oppressed players, the ones that keep perpetually losing their bases. Apophenius able to get a Loyalist out. He's actually burning mass on T3 land, but man, what a difference that can make. That Loyalist taking out several units before it went down. T1 point defense being spammed anywhere that engineers can lay them down, with more Loyalists moving in from the north side. I think Apophenius will be able to save his base, but at what cost? We have strat bombers out now. Thankfully, they are kind of distracted with the units on the north. Hades is going to use that firepower to try to help out the player to his right, Stephen Hawking, just slowly but surely failing, especially now that Harbingers are on the field. Those are going to be powerhouses just pummeling this base. Strat bombers would be an addition to Apophenius' problem, but they are kind of occupied on the north. So this is where a whole team comes together, not just one player. And look at how the map is turning. We've got counterclockwise rotation now. I'm finally right. The pink units are moving in on the north, and the white units are moving in on the south. Not quite as far on this side. They haven't quite come into the base yet, but it is coming very, very soon. And it looks like Apophenius is finally getting the last of those units cleaned up. ASF moving in, trying to wipe out that Air Force. One strat bomber did go down. He's got to get the other one, though. And there it is. Both strats dropped. And that was the yellow ACU. Stephen Hawking went nuclear in the face of all of those T2 units. I think we can pretty safely assume that that is what killed him. And Strat Bomber winging its way around still, trying to eliminate these units. But Hades Dorman really under fire at the moment. He's now got Harbingers in his base. T3 in the air player's base is never a good thing, and he shot down the freaking transport before the ACU could escape. So now Hades is trapped completely. I spy with my little eye a couple of fire beetles. What are those down there for? Pink is now moving all of his units to the south to try to recover Shroomi's position. Wow, this is just carnage. This base getting hit hard. All of the build power has gone up in flames. We've got economy disintegrating now. There is double resource allocation on the ACU, so the power is not a huge concern, but still it is a loss. Still 2 Harbingers online with a whole lot of Obsidians. Loyalist moving in from Panic Button. He is the strong player on the left-hand team. He is trying to save his air player for all he's worth. Thankfully, there are still some ASF online. A superior number to what Apophis has. Still, even though this base has taken this kind of pounding, so he will be able to defend his teammates. Panic Button taking the T3 upgrade, I think. Yes. Maybe we'll see a T4 in just a moment. Got a few Loyalists moving across on the south side. Those are going to go right up the back end of the base and try to get in where all of the good stuff is. T2 P-Gens and the like. Are we going to finally see... Nope, still a bunch of Fervors pounding away at these T3 mass extractors. That was 3 lost, and a 4th is nope. Oh, it's going to be close. 720 health, and it's gone. Harbinger was able to finish it up with its dying wheeze. That is going to be the end of the spawn location right there. Oh, that hurts. That hurts bad. 99 income versus 161 on Lucre and 144 on Apophis. That is absolutely miserable to take a hit like that. It's going to be up to Panic Button to recover all of this territory. There are only engineers here, and he needs to kill all of this El Pronto, because they are about to start reclaiming all of the life-giving mass that is scattered across the field. Panic Button did get that T3 upgrade. He's running back, probably going after... Well, he's not going to be able to catch the Loyalists. This is actually bad. Very, very bad. He's swinging left with this group. He's going to have to deal with 7 Loyalists at once, which means he's going to have to need a nice little clump of units. Got to get my tongue untied on this one. Well, hello, brave little Fervor. Running through the back end of the base. You're going to be able to kill that T2 Mass Extractor. It's only got 700 health. A couple of shots, you could kill it. 1 Loyalist has fallen. The rest flee to the left. Taking out a couple of Mass Extractors and Hydro on that side. Then they will be swinging back to the right, moving up through the rear portion of the base. White responding pretty well. Just have to see if he's going to be able to catch those before they do any substantial damage. Front Firebase is going to go down as well. There was a Gunther there, actually. And it is going to go down to the Harbingers. More Cerberus turrets in the back, trying to keep those units at bay. But the damage on the Cerberus turret is simply not going to be enough to dissuade those units. Loyalists coming to a halt here. Bad idea. Or maybe a good one, since it's going to cause that Strat Bomber to miss. But... yeah, that's going to cost them. They may be able to kill off a few more units, but now that they're within range of all of the Oblivion turrets on that side, it is not going to end well. That is a Tsar. Why, good sir, are you making a donut? I know that they're tasty to eat, but when you... well, they're actually doing very well on air. Apophis is not going hardcore air production, but the other air player is sustaining so much damage from all of these Loyalist raids back here that the Tsar might actually be the perfect idea. The northern team will not be able to defend against it. Gunships and Strat Bombers trying to deal with the Loyalists. not doing too terribly well. There's the Monkey Lord started. Panic Button getting a move on, but he's going to have to retreat in the face of all of those units. That Monkey Lord might actually... Nope, they're going to get diverted off to the left. Now that these loyalists have been taken care of, the full force can respond to the south end of this base. They're going to easily wipe out all of those Obsidians. Obsidians are a damn strong unit, especially for a T2. It's basically like a T2 Percival. Has the same firing pattern, the same design philosophy, all that kind of stuff. But they do eventually go down. They do go down, as we're seeing there. You might ask why I think that. They're a high health unit that moves slowly, and they do one shot per 4 seconds with really, really high alpha strike. They one shot kill all T1 units. The only thing that they don't share with the Percival is long range. So yeah, now you know. T1 point defense had been put in place there, but gunships are pretty much impervious to point defense. As you might have noticed, they're going to be able to eliminate all of that pretty dang easily and then move on to the engineers behind it. Interceptors coming up to save it. Impressive that interceptors are actually going to get to the enemy line in the age of ASF. But you know what? While the ASF are distracted, they are going to be able to take out almost all of the gunships. There's only one left there. Loyalists moving through the back of the base. And more point defense. Cheeky little bastard right up on the edge of the base. He is going to start building T1 point defense. That is fantastic. I love it. Absolutely love it. There is finally a breakout. The Cybern powerhouse is now going to be able to try to deal with all of these loyalists that keep streaming in. And now things have swayed back in the favor of the Southern team. This has been a back and forth motion this entire game. You see a collapse on one side, then a collapse on the other side. Just makes you wonder what on earth is going to be the tipping point, because each time it swings just a little further one way or the other. Panic Button has almost got his Monkey Lord finished about halfway on that Tsar, but man, there's a lot of build power on that son of a gun. That Monkey Lord is going to be devastating to the front line of the Southern team, because there is nothing here that can deal with a Monkey Lord. We've got a handful, and I mean a literal handful, of T3 units over here. The group moving in on this base, while that was a good idea till just a minute ago, this Monkey Lord's coming online, and now that is veterancy. If it was able to move a little bit further forward and threaten Panic Button's ACU, I think there was enough firepower to be a threat. But nope, all of that is going to be responded to with superior force. Strat Bomber coming in to rub salt in the wounds. Looks like Apophis took the initiative to try and get those ASF gone to free up his team from these Strat Bombers, but he is not going to get that taken care of. He's going to be beaten back by slightly superior numbers. I think he probably underestimated the amount of ASF that Hades had, and that ASF got a really good turn in. Those ASF, rather, I should say. Speak proper English, Brink. Monkey Lord moving south, 49,000 health on that guy. Is going to move down this way into the base. I don't know what the Southern team is going to respond to that with. The Harbingers are moving northward to cut off the advance of these Mantis. Probably going to break left. Good lord, more fervors. The T1 artillery is moving into the base again, killing all of the mexes again. And T1 mechs is being built clear back in the air player's base. Luker, sometimes I wonder if he's just doing it to insult the other player. It's hilarious. And there goes the ACU of Shroomy. Highly unfortunate. Long-range guns took that ACU out. It was on kind of low health, not anything super lethal or super low, but once you get in that cannon, it actually does a fairly good amount of damage. It's 400 or so, I believe. Hey, look, there's the Tsar. That Monkey Lord is at a full stack of 49,000 health still, and almost ready to clear veterancy. That Tsar is going to have to chew through a lot of health to get there. Apophis Slightly behind on ASF, but remember that the Tsar does have powerful anti-air guns itself. It's going to help hammer away at those ASF, eating a lot of damage as it goes. One veterancy already claimed for a total of 63,000 health possible, 35 actual, while it's pounding away at this Monkey Lord with 3,333 damage per second. No, I do not know why that number is so specific. And the Monkey Lord goes down. Apothenis actually has a Monkey Lord of his own. He was going to try to answer it. Probably would not have gotten it completed, but now he's going to have a T4 to throw in the face of the other players. Looks like Harbinger's moving in on Panic Button. Strat Bomber's still winging around trying to deal with those T3 units. Panic Button's now under fire from the Harbs, taking too much damage. 62-4. Dodging the Harbinger shots just a little bit as his ACU moves back and forth, and that is going to be the end of that commander. Panic Button going up in a ball of fire, leaving only Hades to defend this side of the map. That is going to be it, I'm afraid. This Tsar is coming up, and the Northern team has no answer to it. I was wondering just a minute ago when the final swing of the pendulum would come, and that is going to be it, folks. That Tsar is going to eliminate the Galactic Colossus and then probably move on to the commander. Where is he? Where is he? I don't see him. There he is. Right there. Are we going to get a rage quit? That's the question. Lots and lots of Corsairs moving back into the base. That would be humiliating to die to T2 bombers. We'll have to see if that's what happens. Tsar slowly eating away at that GC. So many Corsair. Down to 3,000 health. And that's going to be the one that does it. The final flight. Winging across, and there it is. Hades is no more. Well, folks, that was an intense Wonder game. It is rare to see them that action-packed, back and forth, circling the map one way and the other as the players push forward and recuperate. Really good play from all of these guys. Well done. Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm sorry I was a little bit off on this one. I usually do my cast on Wednesday and release it on Thursday, but I was just not feeling it yesterday, and honestly today, I don't know, it might be a little bit of an inferior cast, but hey, it's a good game and I had a good time looking at it, so I hope you had fun along with me. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.